Andrew has requested me on Patreon to review the Disney movie G-Force, about a team of secret agent animals. I actually saw this movie in theaters, although I don't know what compelled me to go and see it. I remember finding it reasonably entertaining and cute, but I've not seen it since 2009, so I was curious to revisit it. Unfortunately, the flaws were a lot more apparent to me when giving the film another look so many years later. G-Force is harmless enough, but there's also a fair amount that drags it down. To start off, when you boil it down, not a lot happens in this movie. We're given the quick introductory scene, then the animals wind up in a pet shop, they're separated for a bit, then reunited, there are a few action scenes, and then it's over. I recognize this film's intended for children, but it's still surprising how thin the story is. The characters, including the three main guinea pigs, are fairly one-note too. Darwin is the leader, Blaster is rambunctious, and Juarez is girl. That's the extent of the personalities given to them. With that said, Darwin makes for a likable hero, and Sam Rockwell does a good job of voicing him. The human characters are simply drawn too. Zach Galifianakis appears as the man responsible for training these animals, and they really lucked out on getting him, since the movie was released only a month and a bit after The Hangover made him more in demand. He's not given too much funny material to work with, though. Bill Nighy also appears as the appliance company CEO G-Force is investigating, and is mainly directed to chew the scenery. Not exactly a role that will be featured in a Career Achievement Award reel. Then there's Will Arnett as the FBI agent who decides to shut down the G-Force program and then orders agents to track down the guinea pigs when they escape. I feel like the FBI should have bigger problems to worry about than a couple of household pets, but this provides another obstacle for them to overcome. I mentioned there's a section where they wind up in a pet shop and meet another guinea pig as well as a hamster, and those characters reminded me a lot of Carl and Ray from the Blockbuster video commercials. I wonder what those two are up to these days. I hope they're doing well. We get a lot of the expected jokes in this sort of family film, although I admit I got a few chuckles here and there. We're hardly dealing with the most sophisticated writing in the world here, but there's never a point where I'm bored. The highlight of G-Force is an action sequence when the guinea pigs drive plastic balls while being chased by FBI agents. It's quite a well put together action scene. The special effects are quite decent, which they better be, considering this movie cost a reported $150 million to make. I don't know why it had to cost so much when around the same time 20th Century Fox was making Alvin and the Chipmunks movies for about half that amount. Then again, this was a Jerry Bruckheimer production. At a certain point, G-Force turns into a Transformers movie. That's not a joke. The electrical appliances turn to attack droids with similar designs to the Transformers in the Michael Bay films. You almost expect Shia LaBeouf to pop up at any point with Optimus Prime by his side. G-Force also includes a third act twist, which is silly even for this movie. Honestly, what I find most fascinating about G-Force is the director. It was the feature directing debut of Hoyt Yeatman, a highly accomplished visual effects artist. He was one of the founders of the VFX company DreamQuest Images, which was a major pioneer in the advancement of computer-generated effects. Yeatman won an Oscar for the visual effects in The Abyss, as well as a Technical Achievement Academy Award for improving and refining traveling matte composite photography. He also worked on the visual effects for The Fly, Short Circuit, Crimson Tide, Armageddon, Mighty Joe Young, and some of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and even spent time as an animator for Pixar and DreamWorks. With G-Force, he was not just the director, he came up with the story for the film and was the one to pitch it around Hollywood, for Bruckheimer agreed to make it and set the project up at Disney. This was a genuine passion project of Yeatman's, and for all its faults, the direction is not one of them. Yeatman has a clear understanding of not only VFX, but also how to block and edit action scenes. However, this wound up the only feature film he ever directed, and he has since returned to working primarily as a visual effects supervisor. And there were obviously high hopes for G-Force to become a franchise. The ending sets the stage for a potential sequel. However, it did not make its money back in its theatrical run, and it was apparently the combined box office disappointments of G-Force, The Sorcerer's Apprentice, and The Lone Ranger that soured the partnership between Disney and Jerry Bruckheimer and led to the end of his first look deal with the studio. Overall, G-Force makes for harmless entertainment, but it's also not anything particularly special, as it's a fairly routine and not particularly funny action comedy. But what do you think of G-Force? Let me know in the comments, and thank you for the request, Andrew.